Hi everyone, it's Fiona here and welcome to my Creative Corner at home. And we're going to be working on a task. This is a task for you to do at home, and you'll need some scissors, a piece of paper. It can be A4, it can be the back of an old bill, it can be anything that you want, just as long as you've got a piece of paper. And just a recycled cardboard box. This is my cereal box. And a glue stick. All right, so if you haven't got those things yet, just press pause and then come back with those things. All right, so I'm assuming you're back and that you're ready to go. This is an activity that you'll see, it was in the slides for this week, week one, and it's about the visual arts element of rhythm. And rhythm is of course in music as well and in dance, but we also have the element of rhythm in visual arts. And the element of rhythm it's like a pattern that is not regular, it's irregular, and it's just a theme that gets repeated through an artwork of a particular shape. So what we're going to do is, first of all, I'll show you some examples of student work from last year. This was a task that we did in class, and you'll see here this particular person found a shape in nature. So we were looking at images of nature and we found a shape we found really unique shapes. So you can either, when you're doing this task with children, and this is of course connected to the Matisse cutouts that you will have seen in the slides as well that we talked about. So if you're not sure about that, go back to the slides. So Matisse had a phase where he's an artist, and you can and just Google Matisse cutouts, and it's quite colourful and quite interesting shapes that he used. And the sense of rhythm is that it's not a pattern that's mathematical, it's quite irregular, and it's got a sort of a theme, but it can change. Okay, so it might change in size, like you might have little of those, little sort of that idea, or you might have bigger ones. And this is another one that another student did. So obviously much more detailed, and this student decided to go further and add some cellophane onto there. So I'm showing you this just to say, hey, go wherever you want with this, but we still want to see the element of rhythm, that was the petals shape that this student chose. And you can see there's small ones and large ones, and the students placed them in a particular way. And and you can see this straight away, that there's this whole take it where you want to go with it. It's quite open-ended, which means that it shows your individuality and your creativity. So it's an open-ended task. So I'm going to create one now, and I'm just going to use the cardboard from my cardboard box. So I've got my piece of paper here ready to go, and I'm going to think about, and you might actually want to use a pencil to draw the shape first, or actually just start with cutting. So in primary school, remember safety in working with scissors, especially with young children. Remember back how to carry scissors, all of those things in the classroom. And I'm doing this with you now because this is part of my teacher modelling, which you've been learning about in your degree, that demonstration is an important part of helping children to see, first of all, what the task is. Because if I just show the task, sometimes children will just lose interest, like they will just, they're off thinking about playtime. So we want to show them as well as, show examples. All right, so I've got to think of a shape. So I'm actually going to go with a shape I was thinking about earlier, and to use for this, which is like a sort of a half circle shape. So to create the sense of a pattern that's a sense of rhythm, I'm going to cut out a whole heap of those type of shapes, but in different sizes. Or I could do the same size, but it's basically going to be recognisably the same. So while I'm doing this, if you have, and you're about to see my creative process, which is another part of the modelling, which is children love to see teachers go about the task and just, especially, oops, there goes my, that was funny. Especially if, oh, that's okay. It's a little, see, this one came out a little bit differently. Absolutely fine. So I would say, oh, that one's okay. That's a bit different. That's all right. I'll keep it anyway. So I'm explaining my thinking as I'm going to the children as I'm demonstrating. Okay, so a couple more. I'm just going to cut out. I might have prepared some of these earlier, but it's nice for children to see that. And as I was saying, children love seeing teachers' creative process and seeing the teacher think out loud. Because that helps children understand that in visual arts we are working towards making artistic decisions to decide where things go, you know, not worried about what someone else's looks like or, oh, that one's really nice, but how will mine look? So here I am, and here I am with all my little bits and pieces, but I haven't stuck them down yet because I've got to work out how and what to do. And some children will just go ahead and do that. Other children, and it will just, and you might think about this for yourself. You might be the sort of person that just, right, here we go, we just start and it just happens. Or it just is going to happen a certain way and there's no planning. It's just, we go with it. So, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Or you might have children in your classroom who would like to have it specifically planned out. It's got to go this way. It's got to look like that, before they stick it all down. These are children's creative processes that belong to them, and that's absolutely fine. And that's part of gaining confidence in who they are and the choices that they make. And that's why visual arts and all of the arts subject areas are so beneficial for children in so many ways. All right, so, and another thing that children in your class might do at this point is they might say, oh, look, it looks like a flower. I'm going to make a flower out of it. So rather than go with this is quite an abstract group of shapes, they might try and turn it into something that looks like something already around, which is this one looks like flowers. So again, these are options that may or may not happen, and it's absolutely fine for that for children to choose any of those options. So I'm just going to go with the non-planning sort of approach and just explore. Okay, so and you might be doing this at the same time, or you might be going to do this later on, and I'm not just sticking them randomly. I started doing an idea here on the left hand side, and then I decided to start planning over this side based on what that side looked like. So that's my creative process. And while I'm doing this, I would have children in a group around to have a look, and I would perhaps say, what are we noticing about what I'm doing? And it's, oh, Fiona, Miss King, looks like they might say, oh, it looks like you're, they look like bananas on this side and maybe a flower on this side. They might try and bring it into a recognisable object, as I was saying before. Or they might just say, oh, that's interesting, you've decided to connect all so I'll show you what I've ended up with. So and this is a very basic version because I'm not wanting to take up too much of time. But you can see here that I've joined all of them together in the centre here, and these ones are quite separate, but they're layered. So getting children to talk about what they see and describe it is another important aspect of this. And so at the end of this activity, I would be asking children to work in pairs and just say, what do you notice about the other person's work? So try and, I've sort of unpacked a bit of what you might notice about my choices in what I've created here. I think that there could be a lot more interest going on, and I would love to have another cardboard box with something different, maybe a toothpaste container, and cut out some different things around it. Maybe I'd go further with the task. But getting children to talk about what they see in someone else's, not necessarily what they like, but what they see. Okay, describing what they notice. And notice is a really important word. Okay, so that's your task. Have fun. When you've completed your task, take a photo and feel free to keep that. First of all, keep a record of all of your all the things that you create, because this is a record of your learning journey in the arts, but also just to keep a record of teaching ideas for the future. And you might like to keep the actual physical objects in a manila folder or concertina file or something like that. You can even get one of those display folders if you do want to keep a record of these. So they've done a very basic version. Feel free to go further. Feel free to use bigger paper. Feel free to actually use that as the basis and then stick other things onto it. If you've got coloured paper and cellophane at home, feel free to use that as well. I was going with a sustainability focus, connecting with geography there with sustainability. So thanks everyone, have fun with that task and share these on the discussion board. Okay, thanks everyone, bye.